Bharat Petroleum Corporation Limited, BPCL, a company that was expected to be privatized at the end of this financial year, which is until March 31st, 2022. At least that's what the finance minister said in this year's budget. But is it really expected to happen? Are there any major roadblocks along the way? More importantly, what is going to be the impact on the Indian economy as a result of BPCL privatization getting delayed? Let's find out in this video. Alright, so first things first, let me clear the air by saying that I do not expect BPCL to be privatized until the end of this financial year, and I'm making this statement with a lot of responsibility. As per me, there are a lot of challenges, lot of roadblocks along the way, because of which the chances for BPCL privatization are extremely low. Let me take you through those one by one. The first reason, simply put, is that there hasn't been much progress on the privatization of BPCL. Yes, there have been enough bidders for the company, but those bidders have failed to get enough partners to finance that deal. As a result, this entire process is going to get delayed because it's a time-consuming task. Second reason is COVID-19 continues to pose a huge economic threat, which is why there's a huge uncertainty at the moment. We have seen COVID first wave, the second wave, and now Omicron continues to pose huge economic threat apart from the health hazards that could potentially take place as a result of COVID-19. The third reason is there is huge uncertainty in the energy markets as well. Because of this, investors are less likely to participate in the privatization until there is some sort of confidence in the energy market sentiment. The fourth and the final reason is that there has been a huge delay in the due diligence for the sale of BPCL. Yes, a lot of bidders did get access to the financials of BPCL, but to complete this due diligence, it took a lot of time for them. Now, these were the main reasons why I think that the privatization might spill onto the next year. But understand this, up until 2020, before COVID had hit India, the Indian government was extremely optimistic on the sale of BPCL, to the extent that they thought that BPCL might get privatized much before than Air India. Clearly, that is not going to happen, but the reason for that was BPCL was a profitable company and has huge prospects for the investors who want to tap into the Indian energy market. Clearly, that has not taken place, but this does goes to show that when privatization actually happens, then there's a good chance for BPCL to get good deals in the market. Now let's understand this. BPCL might get delayed in its privatization, but what is the overall impact of this delay on the Indian economy? For this, we'll first have to understand what was the government's disinvestment or divestment target. Now, by disinvestment, I mean that the government is going to sell off its share in public sector enterprises and is going to garner more and more money to finance all its expenses. For the current financial year, the government had set a disinvestment target of 1.75 lakh crores, out of which BPCL had to play a major part to realize this amount. But clearly that is not going to happen, which means that the government is going to miss its disinvestment target for the current financial year. The overall impact on the economy is that the government could end up with a reduced revenue number, which would mean that India's fiscal deficit, which is expenses minus the revenue, is going to go up, and that will happen because the revenue that they will earn is going to fall down. Higher fiscal deficit is generally not a good situation for the country, because that will mean that the government will have to look for sources to finance that deficit. How will they eventually pay for the extra expenses that they will have to incur? Overall, this delay in privatization might not bode well for the overall Indian economy. But let us now understand, has this been a consistent record of the government in terms of missing its disinvestment target? Let's find out. In FY19, the government had set a disinvestment target of 80,000 crores. They ended up overachieving it by realizing a total of 85,000 crores. But from FY20 onwards, the government has failed miserably in realizing its overall targets. Let me show you some numbers. The disinvestment target that the government had set was 1,05,000 crores. They only ended up hitting 50,000. In FY21, the disinvestment target was 2.1 lakh crores. They only ended up hitting 32,000 crores. So that is a huge challenge that the government has in front of itself to make sure that its disinvestment target is met and they have enough revenue to finance all its expenses. Alright, that's it from my end. I hope you enjoyed this video. Do subscribe to Finance Lens and I'll see you the next time.